For this tool, we would like to illustrate how to use a spreadsheet similar to Excel, but can be found in the Google Drive to create a shared database in which you can share information about linear functions. So first thing we need to do is create a spreadsheet. So you click the create button and we're going to go to spreadsheet. And then you will go ahead and rename it. For this one, I'm going to use liquid cooling because that is one that I used previously. Alright, now you have your spreadsheet. You can go ahead and label your column. So in this project we did cooling rates of liquids. So our first column is going to be our X, which was our independent variable, and that represented the time in seconds. Our other column would be our Y, and that was represented by temperature in Celsius. Now, the Google Drive spreadsheet works exactly like Excel as far as inputting formulas and making calculations. So our initial time is going to be 0, and we want to set up 15-second intervals. So what we're going to do is put a formula in the next cell. So we want to put equals 15 plus A2, which is this cell right here. Then you hit enter. So now you can see that this A3 cell has 15 seconds in it. And if we copy this formula and we highlight the little blue square at the bottom right corner, and when the crosshairs turn black, you can just drag it and it copies it. So now we have a list of 15-second intervals from 0 to 420. Alright, now to set up your temperature, you also need a formula. So in our lab, we derived a linear regression, which turned out to be negative 0.03 times x. And now instead of putting x, we're going to put our cell for A2, because that's our initial start. And we'll close the parentheses, plus the y-intercept, which was 100, because that was our beginning temperature. And then you hit enter. Alright, so now our initial temperature is 100, which is also the y-intercept. And we're going to copy this formula down all the way to our last time interval. And you can see it has put together a representation of the temperatures decreasing. Now we have our table complete. We can make a chart which would actually illustrate that line. So you want to go to the icon that says insert chart. And now you can let the computer know which data you want to put into this chart. So we will highlight all of this information right here. And we also want to make sure that we use some type of linear chart. So you can go to charts, find the line chart, and this line chart will be fine. Now we want to customize our chart. So first we can make a title. We'll go in and change title. We will call this the distilled water chart, because this chart represents the cooling rate for distilled water. Alright. We can decide whether or not we want our legend, which will be right here on the right side, or you click the drop box. You can be placed on the top, center, bottom, or you can do without it. We'll just keep it on the right side for now. You can label your horizontal axis, and remember the horizontal axis is the same as the x-axis, so we'll label that time in seconds. Then we want to change the vertical, because this was represented by the temperature. And that was in Celsius. Change that misspelled word. And now our we know that for these purposes our minimum is going to be 0 and our maximum was 100. So we can change those features. Also, we can eliminate the blue line, because the blue line is not relevant to our data. Alright, the red line represents temperatures at given times. And where you touch, you can see the specific temperature. Alright, so once you have your chart, you can add other things as far as background colors. You can go in here and change. You can change the font style. And once you feel you're complete, you can go ahead and insert your chart. So now your chart is inserted right next to your data. If you feel the need to go back and edit anything, you can always click here for quick edit mode, or you can click the drop box and it'll give you some options. You can delete, save, publish, copy. And also you need to label, now that we're creating this database, we can go ahead and label this tab. So sheet number 1 is actually going to represent distilled water. Alright, now for the next sample, we will create another sheet by clicking on this little plus sign down here. While the title remains the same, the data will be different for this sheet. Same process though, we'll label the X It's time in seconds. And so on and so forth. And whatever this liquid was, that's what we need to rename that sheet. So let's say, for example, it was vinegar. So this will be the vinegar tab. So now we're creating this database where we can share information, where one group in the class can do a liquid, another group can test another, and if you have multiple periods, you can have several tabs. There's no limit. And if you needed to create a new database, you would just open up a new spreadsheet. Now, as far as sharing goes, you being the instructor, you have the ownership, so you determine who can see and who can edit. So once you click the share button, this will pop up, and this is how you would invite your students in. So for example, if I want to invite Peter Ely, I can give him the option to edit, comment, or just view. But the only way your students will be able to add data is to be able to edit. So you want to choose can edit. And then you share. If you want to be notified via email, just click that tab. You can also send a copy to yourself to remind yourself of who you've shared with. And you can always go back and take people out if you make mistakes. So you just click yes, and now this document has been shared. If you send it to the wrong email, you can always click on the X and remove it. And you can always change what you give this person permission to do. So that's it for my tool, and I hope you learned something.